The dead and dying scramble in that dark behind that sun. Drink in cantinas, make love in fields beneath the shade of olive trees, scrub oak or maple. Anywhere the passions hurl them, they crush the grass in a frenzy of embraces. Youth lives there in those lands astern, on seas with foam-flecked waves, where fly the birds that know no roost, and lightly stroke the rollers rolling to some shore to break in rainbows over rocks with all their resolution blown to spume. A sun scrolls up the road. Behind it wind innumerable twists and turns, dark corners where demons pick purses with their hoards of jewels. That's all the detritus of life, he thought. That's all its glories backed by all its shame, manure of age. 3. This wall he stripped down to the bricks, hard purchase of sun-beaten soil, dry sustenance, under a cruel blue, where shade is thoughtful, and the dew lies under the patronage of star-bursting nights, and eyes retreat in slits to focus on a desert shimmering. He painted in a window of blue-black to see the brilliance of those stars, the Southern Cross above an ocean warm, splintered by trails of flying fish. Squid were moon-drawn from the deep until the dawn broke fast and clean and out of breath. But in the sable of the night, the scented music of a billion wings, drum of a billion scuttling feet, a wary jaguar's growl, snake slithering through leaves, smell of a cayman's scales, musk hanging in the air with velvet touch. South was all sweetened by the tang of rum and rumbas, sambas, dancers chilly hot and lithe as moray eels in groves of coral fans. And though the sea was whipped by purple-hearted squalls and hurricanes, the rack left by their fury was a feast for gold and scarlet crabs. 4. The west he painted green as grass, for there he said the future spreads its fields and copses, rivers, mountains, seas, its days and nights behind closed doors, soundproof against the music to be played from secret scores. Here he could listen to the waves, soar over them, coveting their shades of crystal blue, kelp green, grey grizzled black, roll with their anger over the main to swallow ships, reduce the rocks to boulders, pebbles, sand to clay. On islands spouting fire he'd squat where turtles dug their nests, while buoys spat and squawked at mating seals. He'd watch the boiling of the sea as amberjacks and snappers gorged on regimental wheeling shoals of slick sardines. Out there the sun goes to its sleep. Out there the silence of the deeps shuts down the gala of the reefs. Lighthouses blink, their loom is doused by distance, and the great oceans sigh. The tide sweeps over all, the stars to conjure the full orchestra of night. Dot is dot. You want me to read this one for Reverend Todd, yeah.
When you met with Todd Milner, you weren't writing poetry yourself.
No, I wasn't when I met him in 1961, I think. We became sort of good friends, but I didn't know him. I knew he was a poet, but we were just, you might say, drinking mates. But when I went back to Mallorca, and almost 20 years later, I met up with him again, and by that time I just was writing poems in Spanish, and renewed a friendship. We used to meet once a week for lunch in a restaurant, and yeah, and he he had only one copy of this book of poems, the summer poems for a summer solstice, and of course he was very reluctant to let me have it because he only had one copy. So I got it from him, and then I went up and found a local printer. I had him photocopy the whole thing and then bind it very nicely. And then I came back next week and said, "Here, Rev, you sign this." And he was so delighted, probably just mainly because he got his book back. No, but the fact that I'd done this, yeah, and I've got that here somewhere. Yeah.
When did he die?
He died just not long after we'd come back to England, so it must have been about, my guess is, I don't know, 81 or something like that, around about then.
Because his first book came out, I think, in the 30s.
In 30, or was it even 20s? Was it? I'm not sure. Yeah. He was in his seven, 70s, I think. Well, I know he was when, but I can't remember how far in his 70s. I think mid-70s when I last knew him in New York. He's probably born about 1900, so he must have mainly got to 80, I think.
So was he publishing at the time that you knew him? Was he still writing and publishing?
No.
It was all sort of in the past for him.
It was all in the past,
Right.
yeah. We had a wonderful old house, which was just full of books everywhere. You couldn't get up the stairs hardly with books absolutely piled everywhere.
Yeah, when I think there's all these people who keep doing PhDs on the same poets. They're doing PhDs on Eliot, or an Auden, or something like that. And Ruth Van Todd, who deserves that sort of attention, or W.S. Graham, perhaps, and nobody's even looking at them. It just makes me look
Well, Graham,
what they've been funded for.
Well, they basically only get to do those PhDs because they're covering the same territory as somebody else.
Virtually, just overlapping or doing some sort of slight thing. But they're all poets, all 20th century poets like Van Todd, or Vernon Watkins, or just ignored, or neglected.
I think there was some research a couple of years back of W.S. Graham, wasn't it? A few years back, yeah. Yeah, great.
Certainly Ruth and Todd's
Yeah.
certainly neglected. Just his poems in one or two anthologies there, and that's it, really.
So the big name on the York at the time was obviously Robert
Graves, yeah. But that was I mean, I never knew it, but I gather it was a very funny scene, But he's a very strange man. I know you're a great fan of his, Ian, but I thought he was a better novelist than poet myself. Yeah.
Did you meet Graves?
No.